All right, so good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's afternoon for me, almost good evening. It's actually almost 6 o'clock here. So I'm just now leaving work. Long day today. So, one of the things I talked about in my video earlier today was a topic about, the rules changes in baseball, and also kind of what my expectations were. I didn't get in a ton of expectations. I talked about what some players could do, possibly couldn't do. Talked a little bit about my idea of trading Alberto Mondesi. I have a lot of these talks and all of these ideas, but whether they come to fruition is a whole nother issue. More than likely not. I don't think the Royals will trade him, but I think they should. So I want to touch on something that I hinted at earlier about the starting pitching. And I've mentioned this in other videos about how on a team that has lost 100 games in back-to-back seasons, they really should be open to having an open competition for spring training. And one of the things that I see with that is that they, in my opinion, they only have one starter who has any ability, in my opinion, going forward. I think that's Brad Keller. Jacob Junis is who he is. He's okay. Now hold on. As I get to Junis here, let me caveat this a little bit by saying I think Jacob Junis might be better with Salvador Perez behind the plate. He was the product of just awful catchers last year with Maldonado, who was. I completely disagreed with that move, and the Royals ended up trading him and got Mike Montgomery, who was whatever. Montgomery's not much better. But at the end of the day, the Royals got nothing out of their catchers last year. And with Salvador Perez being back, I think that's obviously a tremendous thing for the pitching staff. Whether or not they're going to actually translate that into anything better than average pitching remains to be seen. But I'm not confident that Jacob Junis or Mike Montgomery are going to do anything this year. Danny Duffy is an anomaly. Duffy could be absolutely fantastic, or he could suck. I mean, you could say that about any pitcher, honestly, but Duffy has had absolutely electric games. I mean, the game where, he struck out 18 batters or something like that, and he's nearly pitched a no-hitter multiple times. And then there's times when he can't get anybody out and can't throw strikes. So I said earlier this morning, I said he's maddeningly frustrating. Actually, I said that about somebody else, but I think I said that about Mondesi, but it applies to Duffy as well. When you look at the top, those four pitchers, and then when you look at possibly the periphery starters, so you talk about Jorge Lopez, Eric Skoglund, Glenn Sparkman. I'll put Foster Griffin in there because he's out of options and really needs to make the team if he's going to have any future with the club. I'm probably forgetting somebody else that doesn't mean a whole lot. But anyway, you got those guys. So you got four guys there. You got four guys in the rotation who they say they're going to be in the rotation. And then you got the other four guys. And you got the four rookies. You got Singer, Lynch, Kowar, and Bubic. So I've been saying Bubic. I guess it's Bubic. So I was corrected on that. So these 12 pitchers. These are the 12 pitchers who are, I guess, the best starting pitching options that you have in your organization right now. And I'm not talking about 2 years from now. I'm talking about right now. There's nobody else. There's no Kevin Appier in there. There's no Brett Saberhagen. There's no Mark Gubicza. There's no Dennis Leonard. There's no veteran in there. In fact, there's not even a Homer Bailey. So one of the things that, when I looked at this, and I looked at these 12 pitchers, these 12 candidates to be starting pitchers for the Kansas City Royals, what blew me away was that why are the Royals so adamant that Duffy, Montgomery, Keller, and Junis, those 4 guys, why are they so adamant that those 4 guys are the top 4 starters? Is it just because they have major league experience? To me, that doesn't mean anything. This isn't, Major League Baseball is in the business of get it right. And it's in the winning business. And who in the world is blowing my phone up? Major League Baseball is in the get it right business, and this person's driving too slow. Holy cow. The speed limit is 55. I just realized I was going 30. No wonder everyone was passing me. No, I wasn't going 30. I was probably going 40. So if we're going to be in the business of get it right and be in the business of putting the best product out there, putting the best pitchers out there, I don't understand why you would not want to have the 5 best starting pitchers if they're ready. Well, it doesn't matter if they're ready. The 5 best starting pitchers for Major League Baseball for the Kansas City Royals for 2020. Can anybody honestly tell me that Singer, Kowar, Lynch, and Bubic are not better than Griffin, Skoglund, Lopez, Sparkman, Blewett, Scott Blewett, I'll throw him out there too. Or the Rule 5 guy that we got from Tampa. So there's 14 pitchers now. Does someone really want to sit there and tell me that those 4 rookies are not better than any of those guys? Right now on February 17th, 2020. Those guys are not better. I 124% disagree with that. Not only are they better, they're much better. Much better. Do I have evidence of that? All the evidence I have is just of what I hear, from the beat writers, what I see, from videos that are posted online, what I hear from what scouts report. I'm not an advanced scout. I work a day job here in Kansas City. I'm not scouring the internet, for tidbits of these guys. I read the same things everybody else does. And from what it's telling me is that these 4 guys, I refuse to believe that none of them are in the top 5. Now, I'm not going to go as far as to say that all 4 of them, that 4 of these guys are for the 5 best pitchers in the organization. You could probably definitely make the case that Danny Duffy is a better pitcher than them. I would go ahead and say that Brad Keller. Brad Keller is the only one from last year who I would actually put in the starting rotation. But I can see the argument for Duffy. Not so much for Junis, definitely not for Montgomery. There's nothing Montgomery does that excites me. So, what does this mean? What does this mean for the Royals? I don't know why we play this song and dance every single year with young players. If Brady Singer is the 3rd best pitcher of the 14 pitchers that we just named here, if he is the 3rd best of these 14 guys, he should be in the starting rotation on opening day. If Jackson Kowar is the 5th best starting pitcher in the organization, 5th best major league pitcher in the organization on opening day of 2020, he should be in the starting rotation when they break camp. This is not rocket science. I heard Josh Vernier on the radio on 610 the other day talk about he doesn't see any path whatsoever for any of these 4 guys to make the major league roster this year. We're not even talking about, all 4 of them, putting them all in the starting rotation on opening day. I'm talking about not even throwing a single inning the entire season. These guys are going to be 24 years old this year. All of them. These are not 19-year-old kids. These guys are 24 years old. It's the old Dick Vermeil phrase, or saying, about Larry Johnson. Look, it's time to take your diapers off and put your big boy pants on and go to work. That's what these guys, it's time to do. It's time to take your diapers off. And I don't mean that as a disparaging remark against those 4 rookies. It's more of, hey, Royals, front office, minor league coaches, major league coaches, it's time to stop coddling these guys, get them up to the major league level. Because I firmly believe that if Bobby Witt Jr. is everything they say he's going to be, and if Brady McConnell is everything they say he's going to be, you don't need Whit Merrifield and Alberto Mondesi. You don't need these guys. You could trade them now, but you need to get the pitchers up here to get them acclimated to major league hitting, because they will do well, they will regress, and then when they bounce back, your offense is already established. Then it's time to go to work. It's time to go to the playoffs. People keep saying 2022. I think 2021 is legitimate. The Royals have a legitimate shot, if they don't screw it up this year, to make the playoffs next season. Now, in a perfect world, there could be a million things go right for the Royals this year and they make the playoffs this year. I don't see that happening. I just don't think their bullpen is good enough. But these guys that I named, like Montgomery and Duffy and Junis, these guys are established major league pitchers. And one of the things that they could do is you get the young guys in the starting rotation. These guys can move to the bullpen. They can become like Wade Davis. Have you ever gone back and actually looked to see what Wade Davis was when he was a starting pitcher? He was no good. He was no good as a starter in Tampa. And then in 2012, he was a relief pitcher in Tampa, and he was great. The Royals tried to make him a starter in 2013. And ERA 5.5. People wanted him gone. He was the forgotten piece of that trade. But by the time we won the World Series, it wasn't called the Wade Davis, or it wasn't called at first it was called the Will Myers trade, then it was the James Shields trade, then it became the Wade Davis trade. It's funny how things change over time. And that's what Danny Duffy and Jake Junis can be in the bullpen. Look at Ian Kennedy. Ian Kennedy he had one fantastic year in 2011, or maybe it's 2010, for Arizona, where he probably should have won the Cy Young. Maybe he did win the Cy Young. I don't know. I know he had just a phenomenal year. And then he's been fairly serviceable as a starter. He had a couple really bad seasons with the Royals. His first season was actually pretty good, if you actually go back and look at it. And then last year he became a relief pitcher. The first time he's ever pitched in relief in the major leagues. And he was really good. What was it, 33, 34 saves, sub-3 ERA? You'll take that. You'll take that to the bank. That's what Duffy and Junis can be. He can be a swing guy in the bullpen. These guys have value. These guys are major league pitchers. Something else the Royals could do to even protect these younger guys as well, if they feel like they're ready, and I do feel like they're ready. Again, I'm not the GM, I'm not the manager. Look at the possibility of using an opener. I talked about this last year on multiple videos. The Royals need to start thinking outside the box. The Royals were successful in 2014 and 2015 because they shortened games. Now, they shortened games to the fact that you couldn't hit Herrera, Davis, and Holland. Yeah, they didn't have ERAs of 0. Of course they allowed some runs here or there. But by and large, you're not going to go through that gauntlet on a consistent basis. The Royals are going to get you more often than not. So if the Royals had a lead, that's why it was so important for the Royals to get out. And it made the other teams desperate. Made the other teams desperate to get out on top of the Royals, so the Royals would have to play from behind. It's like the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs play so much better from ahead. Now, Patrick Mahomes can do just about anything with the football, as you saw in the playoffs, with three playoff victories, all comebacks from 10-plus points. You know, that's an incredible talent there. I mean, that's not everyday stuff. But the Chiefs play better from ahead because then it negates their weak. I mean, they are weaker against the run defense, against the run, but they were a lot better than they were last year. But then you look at like the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson is a quarterback that's not built to come back. They have to play to his strength. They have to get out to a lead. Let him do what he does best. And that's what the Royals need to do. They need to let these guys do what they do best. They need to look at possibly looking at an opener. Put Junis out there for 2 innings and let him go max effort for 2 innings. And they're probably not going to be able to hit him. The numbers suggest that on Junis and Keller, the first time through the lineup, they're actually really, really good. Let them go one time through the lineup, then bring in Singer, then bring in Lynch, then bring in Kowar, then bring in Bubic, and let them go. And they're actually built to last 7, 8, 9 innings, and they go the rest of the game. There's a lot of analytics to support this model for a team like the Royals. So, I get a little pumped up about it because I think the Royals need to look at options outside the box. And now, at the end of the day, before I get to that, let me say this. So I listened to, yesterday, the 5 o'clock hour, Soren Petra had Mike Matheny on, and I listened to it today. I listened to the first 15 minutes of it. I didn't get a chance to listen to Soren's reaction to it. I'll have to go back and listen to that later. But one thing I was really surprised to hear, and I was happy to hear it, Mike Matheny, he seemed to think that the position players that are pretty much settled in, and there's going to be obviously a competition for first base. But he was very blunt, and he actually used the word blunt. He said, we were very blunt with I'm paraphrasing here, but he's like, we were very blunt with our pitchers that what had been going on can't go on again. They just can't give away free bases. They can't give away, can't give away outs. That the time is now, And they said there's going to be a lot of things that are going to have to change. And they were very blunt with it. Mike Matheny was very blunt with his pitchers about that. To me, that's a guy that is very open and very willing to do what is necessary to win baseball games, to look it over. And he actually talked about with Soren, he talked about the opener situation and looking at doing that. The Royals definitely need to do that. Because here's the thing, you use 2 or 3 openers, and if you've got decent enough traction at the back of the bullpen, like Ian Kennedy, like maybe Sparkman can be better out of the bullpen, or Mike Montgomery there at the back end, then what do you have? All you got to do is let Singer go innings 3 through 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's only 5 innings. That's completely doable. And one of the things that I was excited about Matheny was that he was willing to embrace the more analytic side of baseball, which is something that he was given a lot of flack for in St. Louis, by saying that he was too old-fashioned and too resistant to change. And I'm excited by the fact that he's willing to change himself. I remember another coach that I always rooted for, Gary Pinkel at the University of Missouri. Pinkel was kind of stuck in his ways the first several years, and then 2004, it was right at the time Aaron O'Neill died, and he's like, I have this offense, and I'm still just treading water, and he decided to stop being so arrogant and selfish, and decided to tailor the offense around his quarterbacks. And then Brad Smith just took off his senior year and had a great season, but he mixed in Chase Daniel there, and then he tailored the entire offense around the starting quarterback Chase Daniel in 2006. And then if you're a Missouri fan, you know what Chase Daniel did his next 3 seasons. Heisman finalist, multiple Big 12 title game appearances, Cotton Bowl victories, whatever. It was a phenomenal player, nearly number 1 in the BCS rankings there at the end of the season. Gary Pinkel, he did a great job of identifying what the strengths were of his team and tailoring a game plan around that. And I think Mike Matheny is going to be doing the same thing with the Royals this year, and he's willing to, be reflective enough of himself and make that change. So I'm hoping that he influences Dayton more enough to say, look, of our 5 best starting pitchers, these young rookies, at least 2 of them are in the top 5. In my opinion, I'd start all 4 of them right out of the gate. Let's just go. Let's just do it. I don't think they're going to do that, but the very, very least, one of them has got to win one of these jobs, unless they're just completely awful in spring, which could happen. They could be completely awful in spring training and get reassigned to the minor league camp. And if that's the case, so be it. Again, this is a results business. It's a get it right business. So the results have to be on the field. All right, so just a couple more minutes here. Now I'm about to pull into my driveway. One of the things that I'm excited to see on the offensive side, I didn't really talk about this too much in the last video, is Jorge Soler. I mentioned him slightly. Maybe he had hit the mid-30 home runs. There was a report that came out today. I didn't have a chance to read it. It was at The Athletic. I'll have to go back and look at it. But the headline was something about, Jorge Soler led the American League in home runs last year. Could he be even better this year? So, again, maybe that's a tease of a headline. Maybe the article is all about, hey, he's going to regress to the mean. I think there's still some room for improvement for Jorge Soler. I think he can cut down on the strikeouts, which I believe he led the American League in strikeouts as well. I don't care about strikeouts as much as long as the guys are still getting on base. It's like the old Adam Dunn thing. I mean, if you strike out 200 times, if your on base percentage is 385, I don't care if you strike out 200 times. If you hit 45 home runs with 385 on base, I literally do not care how you make your outs. It does not matter. So, my prediction for Soler, will the league adjust to him? I don't know. Soler is a very selective hitter. He does not bite at that breaking ball down and away. It's that same pitch that always gets Salvi, and that same pitch that gets Gordon. But obviously it breaks in on Gordon. I'm excited to see what Soler can do, and especially with a healthy Salvador Perez in the lineup. Probably more than likely hitting, Soler will probably be batting 4th, and I would imagine O'Hearn would be batting 5th. They probably want to go righty, lefty, righty as much as possible. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the starting pitching, and that the fact that I really think the Royals need to really evaluate who their best 5 starting pitchers are and start those guys regardless of service time, regardless of anything else. It's time to stop just stringing these guys along and playing the long game. We're in the results business. We're in the get it right business, and if these guys fail and they never amount to anything, you know what? That sucks for the Royals, but they have to find somebody else. So, my early prediction is that I don't believe it'll be Brady Singer. I think Jackson Kowar, actually, he's my pick actually to be the 5th starter coming out of spring. I think he's impressed them more from what Matheny was talking about on the radio today. So my gut tells me, as of right now, if one of those 4 guys is going to win that 5th spot, it's going to be Kowar. But again, we got to see what they can do. So anyway, that's all I've got. Let me know what you think. Have a nice day. Thanks for watching.